Hey guys, I am super excited to present this fully flushed out Shaman class deep dive guide which goes into everything Shaman related for Wrath of the Lich King. Whether you're wondering what the best race is for Shaman, the best in slot items, the talent progression, the rotation, it is all in this guide and I am super excited to present it to you today. I hope you enjoy it. Let me know why you like playing Shaman in the comments below in Wrath of the Lich King. For me, it's because they're completely overpowered in PvP. Hope you enjoy.
Storm, earth, and fire, heed my call.
Shaman is a very special class. They use totems instead of buffs to empower themselves and their allies. They commune with the elements for strength, and they use both elementally empowered melee weapons and spells to crush their enemies completely. Shamans have gotten so many new powerful talents and spells in Wrath of the Lich King, which make them so much stronger in PvP than they ever were before. Now, each specialization has had many changes implemented in Wrath, and even complete talent tree overhauls, which make Shaman feel more powerful than ever. Shaman have always been wanted in raids and groups for their totems, and even more so for their bloodlust or heroism, and that does not change in Wrath. Shaman is a class that groups, arena teams, raids, parties, whatever, will always want. Each Shaman specialization is super viable, whether that's in PvP or PvE, and the class is able to fill the role of either a DPS or a healer. Now, the elemental talent tree focuses primarily on improving your spells like Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning, etc. to make a Shaman into a ranged spellcaster class. Now, on the other hand, Enhancement is a specialization that focuses on melee combat, increasing your damage with melee weapons, strikes, and equipping the Shaman with powerful gap closers, and so much more. And last, Restoration is the healing specialization, granting the Shaman increased healing from spells like Chain Heal, Healing Wave, Riptide, and so many more. So which race is the best for a Shaman? So starting with the Horde races, it's important to kind of understand how the racials changed in order to make that decision. So 3 races that can be Shaman for Horde are Orc, Tauren, and Troll. So let's start with how the Orc racials changed. So first up, Axe specialization. Expertise with axes and two-handed axes increased by 5, then turned into expertise with fist weapons, axes, and two-handed axes increased by 5. So this is a buff. Axe specialization now applies to fist weapons, and that's going to be pretty cool. It's an upgrade. Blood Fury actually got quite a very good change. Blood Fury increased attack power at the cost of 50% reduced healing, while Blood Fury in Wrath of the Lich King actually increases your melee attack power and your spell damage, and no longer has a healing debuff attached to it. So this is a massive upgrade for Blood Fury. It basically, depending on if you're like a spellcaster, Blood Fury will give you spell power. If you are a melee DPS, it'll give you melee attack power. If you are a ranged DPS, it'll give you ranged attack power. So it fits whatever class you are. So Blood Fury is very, very good. Now fitting for pretty much any class you decide to play. And the biggest thing is that the healing reduction is completely gone, meaning you can use this without being afraid in PvE and PvP situations. Now, at a cost of this, Orcs have lost hardiness. To a great degree, it's been nerfed. So the chance to resist stun effects increased by an additional 15% has been nerfed to duration of stun effects reduced by an additional 15%. So really major nerf here. Instead of 15% chance to not be stunned, it just has a 15% reduced duration. It's a massive nerf to the amazing PvP talent that made Orcs incredibly good in PvP. Now, the command ability is also actually buffed, and this actually can apply to Shamans. You might think, well, you don't have pets. Well, you do actually. So damage dealt by Hunter and Warlock pets increased by 5%. Well, it's actually changed to damage dealt by pets increased by 5%. So that includes anything you summon. So, Shaman can summon Ghost Wolf pets. They have, or Spirit Wolves. They have a set of abilities. Those abilities do include a self-heal. It's really, really good, actually. So Command actually has some application. Now, it does have a 3-minute cooldown, so it's not like game-breaking like Shaman or Shaman BiS, but Command actually does have some helpful applications there. Okay, let's take a look at Tauren. So War Stomp is still a half-second cast, stuns 5 enemies within 8 yards for 2 seconds. It's exactly the same. Cultivation, exactly the same, 15 herbalism skill. Endurance actually got nerfed. Total health increased by 5%, has changed to base health increased by 5%. Like obviously your total health is going to scale with your gear. Base health is going to remain the same throughout. So it's definitely a nerf. Tauren still get a nice a little bit of health increase, but not nearly as much as before. And then nature resistance, like all the resistances, racial resistances, it's actually a buff in my opinion. Now the way that resistance is calculated is it's a two-factor calculation. I don't want to go into it too much, but just know that this is actually a buff by having the reduced chance to be hit by nature spells by 2%. So very cool. And finally for Troll, we got health regeneration rate increased by 10%. 10% of total health regeneration may continue during combat. That is exactly the same, Troll regeneration. And then we also have Beast Slaying being exactly the same. And then Berserking actually got a buff or a debuff depending on how pro you were at using it. Now it used to be, greater effect up to 30% increased attack speed if you're badly hurt while you're berserking. Now it's just always going to be a 20% increase, which is probably better because in PvE situations, you're probably not going to be low health unless you're like a tank or something, and even then, it's probably gonna be rare. So this is, in my opinion, a buff to get a flat 20% increased attack and casting speed. So that's fantastic. 20% every time consistently. Very cool. I think that's a buff. Bow specialization, chance to critically hit with bows, increased by 1%. It's exactly the same. And then throwing specialization is exactly the same. There is a new talent in Wrath called Voodoo Shuffle, which reduces the duration of all movement and pairing effects by 15%. It's actually quite good for PvP. Not going to really be too helpful for an enhanced shaman because they already have an ability which basically makes snares fall off of them every tick of their Earthbind totem. So it could be helpful though for Resto or Elemental. So now that we've gone through that, let's take a look at specifically how these races compare when playing a shaman. Now, when you're playing a PvE DPS, this could be, Elemental, this could be Enhance. The axe specialization of Orc is really, really good for an enhanced shaman because there's some really good axes in Wrath of the Lich King. Hardiness, it doesn't really matter too much in PvE because you're probably not going to get stunned too frequently. And if you are, it's not like game breaking. Command is super helpful. So there's a bunch of stuff that helps with your PvE DPS if you're Orc. Now, if you're Tauren, I put them kind of at 50-50 because nothing here really helps. Like Endurance, fine, you might survive AoE a little bit, but it's not really going to maximize your AoE. Neither is War Stomp or Nature Resistance. On the other hand, Troll is fantastic. I would actually probably even rank Troll better than Orc. I would say if you're going for PvE DPS, I would say Troll's probably your number one pick just because of Berserking. Berserking is just so powerful, getting that 20% increased attack and spell cast speed. It's fantastic, not to mention, Beast Slaying could be very helpful as well if you're fighting beasts in a PvE situation. So I'm going to have to give it to Troll here for PvE DPS if you want to maximize that. When it comes to being a PvE healer, well, Troll wins again because axe specialization is not going to help you with your heals. Tauren, maybe, when it comes to PvE, staying alive, endurance, negligible, really not helping that much. Berserking, once again, is just super helpful if you're going to be a healer. So Troll, once again, is BiS so far for Shaman. Now, if we move on to PvP DPS, there's definitely some advantages to playing an Orc. Hardiness helps somewhat. Blood Fury is nice, right? Axe specialization is nice. Command is nice. But quite frankly, I would say that Troll once again wins because they've got Berserking. And that's just super powerful in PvP situations, whether you're Elemental or Enhance. But I'd say it's about even in this case. I could see an argument for either one. Tauren War Stomp, I don't want to overlook it. It is helpful. It is very nice. But I would say it's really the only thing Tauren have. They've only got War Stomp. So I would say Orc or Troll when it comes to PvP. I would say Orc had a much stronger case in TBC when Hardiness was much better, but Troll also, if you're not playing Enhanced, Voodoo Shuffle is a very nice PvP racial ability. And finally, PvP Healer, it could be very helpful, once again, War Stomp, but it's not like game breaking. I just think Berserking is too good, and Voodoo Shuffle is a very strong PvP talent as well, and especially if you're a healer. So, Blood Fury also doesn't give a healing debuff, so it is somewhat helpful. But I'm going to say overall, guys, Troll is probably your best pick if you want to play a Shaman as a Horde player. All right, so for Shaman for Alliance, you can only play as a Draenei if you're going to be a Shaman. So let's do a quick recap of how the Draenei racials changed, and that's going to be pretty much it, because the best race for a Shaman is the only race for a Shaman, which is Draenei. Now, Shadow Resistance, like all the Resistance racials, has been buffed, going from 10 resistance to a 2% reduced chance you'll be hit by shadow spells by 2%, which is awesome. When it comes to gem cutting, it's exactly the same, 5% increase, or just 5 skill increase jewel crafting skill, which is nice. Heroic Presence actually is super buffed. Before, it was, depending on, which class you are, it might give you a 1% chance to hit with physical attacks or 1% chance to hit with spells. For Shaman, it was actually spells, but now in Wrath, it's going to be increased chance to hit with all spells and attacks by 1% for you and all party members. It's still party, it's not raid wide, but this is a good reason to place a Draenei in each of your groups in Wrath. But it's a buff. It's twice as good, essentially, helping both physical damage dealers and spellcasters now in Wrath. Gift of the Naru actually has an incredible buff, in my opinion. Not only does it deal more, or grants more health back, the amount healed is increased by your spell power or attack power, whichever is higher. So it is buffed regardless if you're a spellcaster or a physical damage dealer. It also is instant cast. Now this is freaking awesome. I always hated the fact that you had to cast Gift of the Naru. Now you can pop this like instantly. It's an instant heal over time, and it's going to scale with your gear. So friggin' awesome. So very awesome buffs pretty much all around. Every single racial for Draenei was buffed besides gem cutting. So fantastic. If you're going to go Alliance, Draenei is good. All right, let's move over and talk a little about Enhancement. So a really cool new talent is Earth's Grasp. This increases Stoneclaw's totem health by 50% and the radius of Earthbind totem by 20%, and reduces their cooldown of both totems by 30%. So finally, you have another option besides just 1% more mana, up to 5%. This is a much better talent. Now, cool addition also is Mental Dexterity. This increases your attack power by 100% of your intellect, which is a very nice boost to your attack power here. Now, one of my personal favorites is very PvP oriented here. It's called Frozen Power. Now this increases the damage done by Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning, Lava Lash, and Shock spells by 10% on targets afflicted by Frostbrand attack effect, which is okay, it's fine, but really the big deal here is that Frost Shock has a 100% chance to root the target in ice for 5 seconds when used on targets at or further than 15 yards away from you. This is a gap closer, right? Straight PvP, amazing to get to your enemy if they're too far away from you. Very, very cool addition for Enhanced Shamans. Now, Static Shock is really cool. Gives you a 6% chance when you hit your target to cause a lightning shield orb charge to do damage, right? And the lightning shield also gains 6 additional charges, which is crazy. Now, what's awesome is that you can finally start using those charges instead of them just sitting on you, right? Because if you're not getting hit, your charges aren't being used. But now, anytime you have a 6% chance when you hit your target that a lightning shield orb charge will hit them too. So it's really, really cool. Finally makes it gives your shield a reason to be on, right? And then finally, we have a new ability in the enhanced tree called Lava Lash. You charge your offhand weapon with lava, instantly dealing 100% offhand weapon damage, and damage is increased by 25% if your offhand weapon is enchanted with Flame Tongue. As you can see, some of these talents are really trying to get you to not use Wind Fury, right? And so Flame Tongue is actually what Enhanced Shamans typically go with in Wrath of the Lich King. Now, one of my absolute favorite additions is improved Storm Strike. Now, when you use Storm Strike, you get 20% of your base mana back immediately. This is epic. For a very, very long time, Enhanced Shamans have been very mana hungry. You had to be very smart with your mana, even with Shamanistic Rage, which was helpful for getting mana back. You had or Shamanistic Focus too. There were so many things that helped a little bit, but you could still, fall behind on mana. And so this is really such a great talent in order to finally fix any mana issues that a shaman might have because you're using Storm Strike so often in your rotation. So very, very awesome addition. Now, Earthen Power is probably one of the strongest PvP talents for Enhancement Shamans. So it makes it so that anytime your Earthbind totem pulses, it will remove all snare effects from you and all nearby friendly targets. So that is incredible. Basically, Enhanced Shamans can't be snared in Wrath of the Lich King. love it. It's amazing. Now, there is an additional effect of this talent. It also reduces enemy attack speed. Your Earth Shock reduces enemy attack speed by an additional 10%. So that's kind of cool as well. But really, Earth and Power makes Enhanced Shaman a complete terror in PvP because they cannot be snared, basically. It's amazing. Now, another really cool new talent for Enhanced Shaman is Maelstrom Weapon. When you deal damage with a melee weapon, you have a chance to reduce the cast time of your next Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning, Lesser Healing Wave, Chain Heal, or Hack spell by 20%, stacking 5 times. 5 times 20 is 100%, which means instant cast. So you can get instant cast hacks in PvP, instant cast chain lightning, whatever you're looking for. Very, very cool. And last, the most notable talent on the enhanced tree is Feral Spirit. Now this talent summons 2 spirit wolves under the command of the shaman, lasting 45 seconds. This talent is so much fun. I mean, how cool is it to have 2 feral spirit wolves as pets while also being an insane melee DPS? It really fulfills the shaman fantasy, like in Warcraft 3 with the Farseer having those 2 spirit wolves. Overall, I would say the enhanced shaman got an absolutely insane amount of good new PvP talents that make them stomp so many other classes in PvP. All right, so we're gonna go through the enhanced shaman talent progression. There's a lot of new talents, but we're gonna go through which ones you should get while you're leveling. Now, I recommend you get 5 out of 5 ancestral knowledge. Now, back in the day, this used to just increase maximum mana by 5%, which was totally not good. It was garbage. That's what I wanted to say. So like you had to get it because there was no better option, right? Or, you know, maybe you were using a shield, so you'd get the shield specialization. Now, there are some pretty decent options like enhancing totems, increasing your strength of earth, totems effect. Earth's Grasp is decent, but not really that good for leveling. The reason ancestral knowledge is the top pick here is because mental dexterity is a new talent. This increases your attack power by 33% of your intellect, and ancestral knowledge increases your intellect by 10%. This goes up to 100% with 3 points. So it's 100% increase attack power. Well, you get 100% of your intellect turned into attack power. So it's actually quite a good talent, actually, to get ancestral knowledge. Now, from there, you're going to want Thundering Strikes, 5 out of 5. 5% crit. It's going to be very, very good as an enhanced shaman. Crits are fantastic. From there, you want 1 point into shamanistic focus. This is going to help with your mana issues. Reduces mana cost of your shock spells by 45%. There's no proc anymore. It's just baseline. So, you know, Wrath of the Lich King's kind of casual friendly. You don't have to wait for Shamanistic Focus to proc before you use a shock spell. You can just spam your shock spells just fine. Not to mention, at this point, you're level 20. And at level 20, you also get Water Shield. So mana issues at level 20, pretty much non-existent anymore. So very, very good talent here to even help even further. Now from here, you want 2 points into Improved Ghost Wolf. This will reduce the cast time of your Ghost Wolf spell by 2 seconds, effectively rendering it instant cast, which is always very, very fun to get around much quicker, and it's going to increase your leveling speed dramatically. Now at this point, you're going to want to put 2 points into Elemental Weapons. It's going to increase damage caused by Wind Fury. It's going to help your Flame Tongue weapon. It's going to help your Earth Living weapon all become more effective, and it's finally going to unlock 5 points into Flurry. Now Flurry is pretty much one of the strongest talents you can get in the enhanced tree because it's going to increase your attack speed by 30% for your next 3 swings after you deal a critical strike, and you got plus 5% crit here, so these two synergize perfectly. Now from that point, you're going to want to get spirit weapons. Enhanced shamans or shamans in general actually don't have the ability to parry attacks. Spirit weapons gives them that ability, and on top of that, it's going to reduce all threat generated by 30%. Now RDF isn't in the game, but if you do find groups for dungeons, it's going to be nice to have your threat reduced because, you know, you get a couple Wind Fury procs and, you know, you're going to pull threat, you know, so Spirit Weapons is actually quite a good ability. Now, at this point, you really want to start getting Mental Dexterity. This is an incredibly powerful talent, as we talked earlier. Just going to be a straight attack power boost, 100% attack power. Your intellect is turned into 100%. 100% of your intellect is turned into attack power. There we go. So very good talent there. You can finally finish off elemental weapons, get 1 more point into it, and then you finally unlock Weapon Mastery. You also unlock Unleashed Rage. So I actually recommend you get Unleashed Rage first. This is even more attack power, and you get expertise, which is nice. So it's going to give you 10% increased attack power and your party or raid, but really just your party at this point. Weapon Mastery is going to increase damage you deal with all weapons. It's fantastic because you pretty much are enhanced. You're doing you know, weapon damage all the time. The reason we put 2 points into it is because finally you can get the level 40 talent, which you're going to want to get Storm Strike. This is extremely powerful, so you're going to want to get this ASAP. And then you also are going to want to get dual wield. So in that order, Storm Strike and then dual wield. It's extremely powerful. You should definitely try to get that ASAP. And then next you want to get dual wield specialization, which is very necessary because of the hit chance. When you're dual wielding, your offhand weapon has such a low chance to hit. So you really need to get this dual wield specialization right after you get dual wield in order to increase your chance to hit. It's extremely important. So I recommend just remember just from right to left, just get Storm Strike, then dual wield, and then dual wield specialization. That's going to help you a lot. Now there are a lot of changes in Wrath, and you might think like, oh, let's go back and get weapon mastery. Well, actually, Lava Lash is the next thing you should get because it's incredibly powerful. Charges your offhand weapon with lava instantly, dealing 100% offhand weapon damage, and damage is increased by 25% if your offhand weapon is enchanted with Flame Tongue, which you will be doing. You put Flame Tongue on your offhand weapon. So Lava Lash is just so powerful at this point, you're going to have to get it. And then now you probably don't have a lot of mana issues, but improved Storm Strike is going to fix if you did have mana issues. And honestly, you're going to have such little mana issues that you can use Lightning Shield instead of Water Shield, because this is going to make your Storm Strike have a 100% chance to immediately grant you 20% of your base mana. Ooh, that's a lot of mana, my friend. So this is fantastic. At this point, you're just powering through. I recommend the next thing you get is actually going to be Static Shock, 2 points. Static Shock's really awesome. It's going to basically give your Lightning Shield additional charges. We were just talking about this, right? It fits in perfectly because you can switch off Water Shield if that's what you were using and start using Lightning Shield. And then this is going to make your Lightning Shield so much more valuable because every time you hit someone, you have a chance to have a Lightning Shield charge hit them from you hitting them. So that's really, really cool. It unlocks Shamanistic Rage, so only putting 2 points into it. This is going to be great for getting a bunch of your mana back, which shouldn't be an issue, but you can add it. That more importantly, it reduces all damage taken by 30%. So if you're up against an elite mob, someone tough, PvP, whatever, pop this as a defensive cooldown. You can also use it while you're stunned. So if a rogue pops on you, pop Shamanistic Rage immediately. As a defensive cooldown, which is going to help you survive probably. Now you can put that 3rd point into Static Shock because that's quite a good ability, and from there you can put 3 points into Mental Quickness. This is going to reduce the mana cost of your instant cast shaman spells by 6%. That includes your shocks. And also increase your spell power by an amount equal to 30% of your attack power. So your shocks are going to do more damage. Any other spells, increases your spell power. And spell power also increases healing. So this is quite good for both mana efficiency and dealing more damage with your shock spells as well. Now at this point, you can go ahead and put 5 points into Maelstrom Weapon, which is a new talent. And when you deal damage with a melee weapon, you have a chance to reduce the cast time of your Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning, Lesser Healing Wave, Chain Heal, or Hex spells by 20%, which stacks up to 5 times, which means instant cast. You can definitely weave in instant cast lightning bolts for some very good damage. If it's like an AoE pull, you pulled multiple mobs, instant cast chain lightning. Maybe you need to use a hex as a defensive ability, or maybe you need to heal yourself because you've got that increased spell power. Shaman is such an incredibly awesome class, so lots of flexibility there with Maelstrom Weapon, and then finally you can get Feral Spirit. This is going to finish off the enhancement tree. Of course, Feral Spirit's very awesome. The Spirit Wolves themselves have abilities that are actually really cool. Very, very fun ability. Now at this point, we're going to go over to the Elemental talent tree as we finish off. We're going to put 5 points into Concussion, increasing damage done by Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning, Thunderstorm, Lava Burst, and Shock spells by 5%, which you will be using a lot because you have Maelstrom Weapon and you have Mental Quickness. So definitely going to be using all those abilities quite a bit. Next, you're going to put 3 points into Elemental Devastation, which causes your non-periodic offensive spell crits to increase your chance to get a critical strike with melee attacks by 9%. That is very, very cool. Of course, that's great, getting those spell crits and then getting that increased melee crit. It's just perfect. Just weaves in perfectly. That means you're going to get more flurries. So this is a fantastic talent. From here, you're going to put 2 points into Elemental Warding, which actually reduces all damage taken by 4%. So that's really cool. And then from there, you're going to want to put 5 points into Elemental Fury. This increases the critical strike damage bonus of your Searing and Magma totems and your Fire, Frost, and Nature spells by 100%. What a beautiful powerful talent this is. You know, magma totems are good for AoE pulls. Searing totem is good for single target. You're going to be using that all the time. And then, of course, all your shock spells are either fire, frost, or nature. And so this is, I mean, and your lightning bolts, chain lightning are nature spells. So very good increased critical strike damage bonus. Fantastic talent. Now, at this point, you're going to want to put 1 point into elemental focus. After landing a non-periodic critical strike with a fire, frost, or nature damage spell, you enter a clear casting state. The clear casting state reduces the mana cost of your next 2 damage or healing spells by 40%. Very good for mana efficiency. At this point, you really shouldn't be struggling with mana, but you never know. It can be useful if you are. And then finally, our last 4 talents are going to go into Reverberation. You're going to put 4 points there, and this is going to reduce the cooldown of your shock and wind shear spells by 0.8 seconds, which is very good for interrupting, for maximizing your DPS, etc. And at this point, you're level 80, max level, and this is the build 2051. So that is your Enhanced Shaman talent progression for leveling. At level 80, this is the standard Enhanced Shaman build. You can see there are some differences between the leveling talent progression and the end game full-out DPS build. Obviously, we don't need elemental warding. We don't really care about taking less damage. We don't need Ghost Wolf for getting around faster. Just as an example, you know, we're just trying to maximize as much DPS as possible, which is why we have improved shields, because we also have static shock. It all just fits together, and you're maximizing your damage. Now, when it comes to glyphs, you are going to want a Glyph of Stormstrike. This is going to increase the nature damage bonus from your Stormstrike ability by an additional 8%. Stormstrike is very good. Flame Tongue Weapon is a very good weapon enhancement. It's going to increase this particular glyph is going to increase the spell critical strike chance by 2% while Flame Tongue Weapon is active. Very nice. And then Glyph of Fire Nova reduces the cooldown of your Fire Nova spell by 3 seconds. Now, Fire Nova is actually a spell that shamans have, which basically shoots fire out of whatever active fire totem is that you have down at the time. So very, very cool. This is also actually a talent we get. Improved Fire Nova increases damage done by your Fire Nova by 20% and reduce the cooldown by 4 seconds. So all in all, you know, very, very good stuff. Now, this build can be changed a little bit depending on your raid composition. If you don't have a Frost Death Knight in your raid, and you are the one responsible for keeping the raid having Wind Fury Totem, that melee haste buff, then I would take the points out of Shamanistic Focus as well as Improved Stormstrike, because this is just extra mana. You can take both of those 2 points and put them into Improved Wind Fury Totem, which will increase the melee haste granted by your Wind Fury Totem by 4%. And so you're going to be responsible then for giving that melee haste buff to the raid if there's no Improved Icy Talons, which, by the way, some Blood Tank Death Knights might come to the raid with Improved Icy Talons. Depending on the build, you know, they can have that double buff. But it'd be kind of funny to have a Blood Tank because they also increase attack power by 10%. So it's like, why do you have an Enhanced Shaman at all when you have a Blood Tank bringing both unleashed, you know, the 10% attack power and the melee haste, you know, the Improved Icy Talons. So most likely you might not have the Frost Death Knight or the Blood Death Knight, so Improved Wind Fury Totem might be your thing. So just keep that in mind. Also, one other thing I want to note is that when Tier 10 comes out, you may be switching to the Spell-Hance Shaman. Spell-Hance Shaman is doing more spell damage, and you'd switch out the Flame Tongue Weapon and the Fire Nova glyphs for Wind Fury Weapon and Feral Spirit, and I will show you Wind Fury Weapon. So increases the chance per swing for Wind Fury Weapon to trigger by 2%, and then we want the Feral Spirit glyph here, and this is going to cause your spirit wolves to gain an additional 30% of your attack power. This is just, you know, when you're playing Spell Hands, it's a little bit different. When it comes to minor glyphs, a good one is Renewed Life, so you don't have to carry around Ankhs of Reincarnation. Obviously, you can go whatever you're looking for here. None of these really matter that much if you're playing Enhanced, but Renewed Life is helpful in a minor way. So that is the endgame Enhanced Shaman talent build, which is standard. So when it comes to your rotation, basically as an enhanced shaman, you're going to want to use Call of the Elements before the fight starts. This is going to place all 4 of your totems down instantly. You're also going to want to put up Lightning Shield before the fight starts. And then once the engagement has begun, first thing you're going to want to do is throw up Flame Shock. This is going to be a damage over time ability. You're going to then want to cast Feral Spirit as you begin to engage your target. And then you're going to want to open up with Storm Strike, which is going to increase nature damage dealt to the target from the shaman, increased by 20%. And then you're going to want to cast Fire Elemental Totem. Your Fire Elemental does a lot of damage, so you're going to want to throw that down. If that's on cooldown, because it does have a 10-minute cooldown, your next option is Magma Totem. Magma Totem does periodic AoE damage. It does 371 fire damage every 2 seconds. From there, you're going to want to use Fire Nova. Again, this is that sort of expanding fire attack. It actually does 900 to 1,000 fire damage to all enemies. So you're going to pop that next. Finally, follow that up with an Earth Shock. That's going to do a bunch of nature damage. And it's also going to reduce the melee attack speed of the target by 10% for 8 seconds. Then follow up Earth Shock with a Lava Lash, which is going to instantly deal 100% of your offhand weapon damage. It's also going to increase by 25% if your offhand weapon is enchanted with Flame Tongue, which it will be. And you also want to be using Lightning Bolt whenever you get 5 stacks of Maelstrom weapon. Lightning Bolt takes priority over every other ability if it's a single target fight. So Maelstrom weapon, of course, there's a chance on hit to reduce the cast time of your next Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning, Lesser Healing Wave, Chain Heal, or Hex by 20%, stacking up to 5 times. So once you get 5 stacks, make sure to use that Lightning Bolt and rinse, repeat, do that rotation. Now, if you are up against a AoE fight, instead of using Lightning Bolt when you get 5 stacks of Maelstrom weapon, you're going to want to use Chain Lightning. So that's mainly the only difference between single target and multi-target. I would say when it comes to your totems, you're going to want Strength of Earth Totem, Mana Spring Totem, Wrath of Air Totem, or depending on your raid setup, you can switch out Wrath of Air Totem for Wind Fury Totem. It's going to, again, with that Blood Death Knight or that Frost Death Knight with that improved Icy Talons, whether or not they're bringing that to the raid. Basically, keep in mind, you want to use Earth Shock if Flame Shock's already on. Just simple stuff. Keep Flame Shock up at all times. If it's not up, use it. If it is up, use Earth Shock instead. If you're running low on mana, Shamanistic Rage is a great cooldown to use. It's only on a 1-minute cooldown. It's going to give you some damage mitigation, but also you're going to regenerate mana equal to 15% of your attack power. So that's a very good ability for getting your mana back. And then always keep Lightning Shield up because of Static Shock. It's going to be losing charges even if you're not taking damage, so keep that in mind. And that should be it. Just rinse, repeat, use those abilities, and you'll be golden. All right, so when it comes to consumables for raiding as an enhanced shaman, your number 1 flask is going to be the Flask of Endless Rage. This will increase attack power by 180 for 1 hour, and it will count as a Battle and Guardian elixir. When it comes to food, your best option is the Fish Feast. This will increase your attack power by 80, give you 46 spell power, and also 40 stamina for 1 hour. Alternatively, you could eat from the Great Feast, which will give you 60 attack power, 35 spell power, and also 30 stamina. Not quite as good as the Fish Feast. You could also make yourself some Dalaran Clam Chowder, which will give you 60 attack power, 35 spell power, and 30 stamina. When it comes to potions, you could use the Potion of Speed, which will be your best possible option. This is a on-use effect for 15 seconds, gain 500 haste rating, so that's going to be very good, certainly. So bring those to the raid if you are definitely min-maxing. Other things that could definitely help you if you are the one responsible for bringing the Wind Fury Totem and maybe you are having some mana issues without improved Storm Strike and without Shamanistic Focus, is you could bring Dark Runes or even Demonic Runes if you don't feel like, running out of mana, so you could potentially also use those. But other than that, those are the main consumables for Enhanced Shaman. If you are playing Spell Enhanced Shaman, then of course you'd want to use Flask of the Frostworm, which increases spell power by 125 for 1 hour, alternatively instead of the Flask of Endless Rage. Now when it comes to new talents, specifically in the Elemental Tree, we've got Storm, Earth, and Fire. This reduces the cooldown of Chain Lightning by 2.5 seconds. Earthbind also has a 100% chance to root targets for 5 seconds when cast, which is amazing for PvP. And Flame Shock dot damage is also increased by 60%, which is a nice touch. There's also Booming Echoes, which reduces the cooldown of your Flame Shock and Frost Shock by 2 seconds and increases the direct damage done by Flame Shock and Frost Shock by 20%. 20%! That is a big buff to shock damage here. Now, Astral Shift is one of my absolute favorites. It's a massively powerful PvP talent, which makes it so that when the Shaman is stunned, feared, or silenced, you shift into the astral plane, reducing all damage taken by 30% for the duration of the stun, fear, or silence effect. Very strong PvP talent here. There's also Lava Flows, which increases the critical strike damage bonus of Lava Burst by 24%. And when your Flame Shock is dispelled, your spell casting speed is increased by 30% for 6 seconds. Obviously, because Flame Shock makes your Lava Burst automatically crit in PvP, people are going to try to dispel it like crazy, but that will only make you cast faster. Very, very cool. Elemental Oath is a big reason people want to bring Shamans to raid. Gives 5% raid-wide spell crit. Also, while clear casting from Elemental Focus is active, you deal 10% more spell damage. Very good reason to bring an Elemental Shaman to the raid for that 5%. Shamanism is also new talent. Causes Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning, Lava Burst to gain additional amounts of your bonus damage effects, which is a nice deep elemental talent for extra raw damage. And the last big talent at the bottom of the elemental tree is Thunderstorm. This new talent knocks all enemies 20 yards back. You can use it when you're stunned. It also restores 8% of your mana, so in PvE you can just pop this as much as you need to. It does 500 to 600 nature damage to all enemies around you. The spell has tons of fun uses, knocking players off the AV Bridge, off the Eye of the Storm Flag, Arathi Basin Lumber Mill, and other places that are just high up where anyone getting pushed off would die, and it's super awesome. All right, when it comes to talent progression for the Elemental Shaman, not many people opt to do this because of the mana issues of being a spellcaster, and Enhancement is generally considered the better talent tree to go down when it comes to leveling. However, if you just want to play how you want to play, let me help you do that. So we're going to start out with 5 out of 5 Convection. This is going to reduce the mana cost of your spells basically by 10%. We're going to really need to be very mana conscious when we're playing a spellcaster build like this. So we're going to put those 5 points into Convection. Now at this point, we're going to put 5 points into Concussion because this is going to basically increase the damage of everything you do by 5%. So definitely get that. The Elemental Focus talent is going to give you a clear casting state, reducing the mana cost of your next 2 damage or healing spells by 40%. Again, we're trying to be mana conscious, so this is going to be a very, very helpful spell to increase our basically our endurance and our ability to continue leveling at a good speed. Now at level 20, we also get Water Shield, so this is going to really help out being an Elemental Shaman. It's going to really help your mana issues. Every time you get hit, you're going to be getting some mana back, so this is definitely a very, very good point to be an Elemental Shaman once you reach level 20. And so with that said, our mana issues are a little bit better. Let's get 5 out of 5 Elemental Fury. This is going to increase the critical strike damage bonus of your Searing and Magma totems with your Fire, Frost, and Nature spells by 100%. This is where you're going to see a really big damage boost because your nature spells, Lightning Bolt is going to increase the critical strike damage bonus by 100%. This is basically like Ruin for Warlock. It's super powerful. So get 5 out of 5 there. You're also going to want to get Eye of the Storm because we've been dealing with spell pushback like nonstop. It's it's probably a big reason people don't want to level Elemental, but Eye of the Storm is going to reduce the pushback suffered from damaging attacks while casting Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning, Lava Burst, and Hacks by 70%. So this is a massive talent, great quality of life. Stoneclaw Totem can only do so much, right, for trying to pull the mobs off of you. So Eye of the Storm, such a great talent. Once you get this, your life's going to definitely get a whole lot better. Now at this point, you could put 1 point in Call of the Flame just to unlock the next tier of talents. This is going to increase the damage done by our Fire Totems and Fire Nova by 5% and damage done by our Lava Burst spell by 2%. So it's actually a good talent, but you don't have Lava Burst yet at level 29, and also you are using those Fire Totems, so it is going to help you a bit. Now at this point, you're going to want to get Call of Thunder. This is going to increase the critical strike chance of your Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning, and Thunderstorm spells by an additional 5%. And remember, when you get crits, you get this damage reduction and also 100% increased critical strike damage bonus. So Call of Thunder is a fantastic ability. And then at this point, you're going to want to get 3 points into Unrelenting Storm, which is going to help you even more with that mana. Regenerate mana equal to 12% of your intellect every 5 seconds, even while casting. As you can see, Elemental is starting to pick up. Things are starting to get good. Now, I'd put 1 point into Elemental Reach. This is going to increase the range of your, basically your elemental spells, and also increase the radius of your Thunderstorm spell by 10%. You'll get that later, and increase the range of your Flame Shock by 7 yards. So this is pretty good. You're going to be able to reach, more targets further away. It's decently good, but really we just want to get it to unlock the next tier of talents here. Now at this point we want to get Elemental Precision, 3 points. This is going to increase the chance to hit with Fire, Frost, and Nature spells by 3% and reduce the threat caused by Fire, Frost, and Nature spells by 30%. So if you're starting to do group things, you're basically you want to reduce that threat so you don't pull aggro. It's also going to increase your chance to hit, which is massive. Hit rating is always super needed. Now at this point you can put 2 points into Lightning Mastery. I mean, it's a really good talent. You're going to put more into it later. It reduces the cast time of basically your elemental spells by 0.2 seconds. It's very good, but really we just unlocked Elemental Mastery at level 40, and that's why we only put 2 in there. So Elemental Mastery, when activated, your next Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning, or Lava Burst spell becomes an instant cast spell. In addition, you gain 15% spell haste for 15 seconds. So not only does that next spell instant cast, but you get a nice burst cooldown there, and it also shares a cooldown with Nature Swiftness. Keep that in mind, but we're not getting that spell anyways. But in Elemental Mastery, it's buffed, it's good, very good. And the next ability the next talent we're gonna get is Storm, Earth, and Fire 3 out of 3. Now Storm, Earth, and Fire is really good because it reduces the cooldown of your Chain Lightning spell by 2.5 seconds. Your Earthbind Totem also has a 100% chance to root targets for 5 seconds when you cast it, and the periodic damage done by your Flame Shock is increased by 60%. I mean, this is huge, right? You can basically AoE snare anyone who's trying to get into melee range, even more protection against pushback, but also that Flame Shock is going to be doing some serious juicy damage. So this is a very, very good talent. Now, go back up, get another point into Lightning Mastery to get another 0.1 second off your cast time, which unlocks the next tier, and you are going to go ahead and get Elemental Oath. Now, Elemental Oath is such a good spell. This is or talent. Basically, this is a big reason why people would even want to bring an Elemental Shaman to a raid. It's going to give you 5% increased spell critical strike chance to you and the raid, and on top of that, for you, it's going to, while you're clear casting from Elemental Focus, if you remember that talent up top, you're going to deal 10% more spell damage. So this is a very nice buff ability, making do a lot more damage. Now, one of my absolute favorite talents of all time for Elemental Shaman, Lightning Overload. This gives your Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning spells a 33% chance to cast a second similar spell on the same target at no additional cost and causes half damage and no threat. So, you're just like a waterfall, just like constantly lightning bolts falling on them. Maybe you'll get an extra Chain Lightning. Crazy. It's super awesome. Definitely want to get this ability. Now, we finally are level 50. We can get Totem of Wrath. Very, very strong totem. 3% increased critical strike chance of all attacks for you and your party. Anyone who's affected by the totem, even in the raid. Also increases spell power by 100 for all targets, all your friendly targets. So very, very good Totem of Wrath. Now at this point, you're going to want to put 1 point into Booming Echoes. This is going to reduce the cooldown of your Flame Shock and Frost Shock spells by an additional 1 second and increase the direct damage done by your Flame Shock and Frost Shock spells by additional 10%. So this is actually very nice. Make your shocks even stronger. Go back up here, put another point into Elemental Reach. Finally, you're maxing out that range. And then finally go back and put 2 more points into Lightning Mastery. We're just trying to unlock the next tier as well. Again, this is for leveling, so we're skipping some decent PvP talents, but we're just trying to maximize our leveling speed at this point. So now that we finally maxed out Lightning Mastery, we're going to go down here and get 5 out of 5 Shamanism. Now 5 out of 5. So this is actually a pretty strong talent. It's going to go ahead and make your Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning spells gain an additional 20% and your Lava Burst an additional 25% of your bonus damage effects. So just overall very strong buff to your damage. Very, very nice. And then you can finally get Thunderstorm. Very strong talent, good in both PvE and PvP. Going to help you get 8% of your mana back every time you use it. By the way, it doesn't cost mana. 45-second cooldown, pushes enemies away, does AoE damage. All around, great ability. Super good in PvP, but we'll talk about that later. Now, at this point, we're going to actually go over to the Enhancement tree. We're going to get Ancestral Knowledge. This is actually much better than it was in TBC. This increases your intellect by 10% instead of your mana by 5%. So much better talent this time around. We're also going to get Thundering Strikes, believe it or not, because this increases your chance to get a critical strike with all spells and attacks by 5%. That's right. It used to just be like melee attacks, right? But this is all spells and attacks by 5%. So 5% more crit, that means more elemental focus, that means more better elemental fury. It's fantastic. Basically 5% crit. Very, very good. Now at this point, we can go back to Call of Flame because we are reaching the point where we're going to have Lava Burst. So now Lava Burst spell has 6% increased damage, which is very strong. And then we're going to put 3 points into Lava Flows. There it is. Increases the critical strike damage bonus of your Lava Burst spell by an additional 24%. Insane bonus, critical strike damage bonus. And when your Flame Shock is dispelled, your spell casting speed is increased by 30% for 6 seconds. Again, we're leveling. That second half doesn't really matter, but it's very good for increasing Lava Burst critical strike damage. It's awesome. At this point, we're going to put 1 more point into Booming Echoes to make your shocks a little bit stronger. And then finally, we're going to put our last 3 points into Elemental Weapons. Of course, this is going to increase the spell damage on your Flame Tongue weapon by 30%. So you're getting even more spell power. At this point, you pretty much have 1 talent point left, which you can put pretty much wherever you want. Not too much big of a difference here. You have the main talents. You could put it here. Shamanistic Focus, if you're having some mana issues, reduces the mana cost of your shock spells by 45%. But overall, this is pretty much the talent progression build. You get all the good stuff. Elemental Shaman can be extremely powerful, especially in PvP. But again, this is the leveling talent progression if you want to go for Elemental Shaman leveling. All right, this is the end game level 80 Elemental Shaman talent build. Again, this is different from the talent progression if you were leveling as an Elemental Shaman, and this is the end game build that you'd go. So slightly different. Some of the talents have been switched around. Namely, we're going to take some points out of Ancestral Knowledge, put them into Enhancing Totems. Of course, this is assuming you're going Dungeon Raid, right? PvE build. We're going to have less points in Convection. Your gear is going to be, much better. You're going to be much more mana efficient, but very, very similar to the leveling build. There's not a ton of differences here. One thing I do want to mention is that, if you have someone who is providing, the strength of earth and flame tongue totems already. So let's say maybe an enhanced shaman, you can move these 3 points into ancestral knowledge. You could also, if you're, going through and you're not running into like a lot of AoE fights, like if it's not Ulduar, it's like more of a single target, you could definitely take the points out of Improved Fire Nova and put them into Convection, or even if you wanted Improved Ghost Wolf for more mobility in the spec. But there's not like a crazy amount of changes you can make. I think this build's pretty solid. When it comes to Glyphs, Glyph of Lava, this is going to make your Lava Burst spell gain additional 10% of your spell power. Lava Burst is like really one of your best spells, so this is a very strong glyph. Glyph of Lightning Bolt, obviously you're spamming this ability, so this glyph is fantastic. It increases the damage dealt by Lightning Bolt by 4%. And then finally, Glyph of Totem of Wrath. When you cast Totem of Wrath, you gain 30% of your totem's bonus spell power for 5 minutes. So this is very strong. Of course, Totem of Wrath is a great spellcaster totem. When it comes to minor glyphs, actually, this is a tangible benefit. Glyph of Water Shield increases the number of charges by 1, which is cool. This is just, you don't carry around Onks with you anymore. Your reincarnation spell no longer requires a reagent. And then actually, Glyph of Thunderstorm actually also is tangible. Increases the mana you receive from your Thunderstorm spell by 2%, but no longer knocks enemies back. So very, very PvE focused, right? Getting more mana back, but now you don't knock them back, which is probably a good thing, honestly, for PvE situations. But this is the end game build. This is standard and definitely going to serve you very well if you take your Elemental Shaman into PvE. All right, when it comes to elemental shaman rotation, first things first, you're going to want to use Call of the Elements to drop your totems. The totems that you're going to want to drop down are going to be Totem of Wrath, Mana Spring Totem, and Wrath of Air Totem. You can also drop down if depending on what totems are already available, you could also drop Wind Fury Totem. Kind of depends on your raid setup, right? So Call the Elements first, then you're going to want to make sure you have Water Shield up, and then basically you're just going to go start spamming Lightning Bolt. You're going to want to use Flame Shock. Of course, that's going to make your Lava Burst crit. Nothing crazy going on here, guys. Pretty straightforward. And you're going to want to use Elemental Mastery with Lava Burst, because Lava Burst is pretty much your longest casting spell at 2 seconds. So it's going to make your next Lava Burst instant cast, and it's going to give you 15% spell haze for 15 seconds. So very, very, very good. And then you can just basically continue with that rotation, cast Thunderstorm if you need mana. If you are running into an AoE fight, it's going to be a little bit different. You're going to want to use your Fire Elemental Totem. This guy, the Fire Elemental, rains destruction on your enemies and does pretty good damage. Definitely be careful with Thunderstorm. If you have the Glyph of Thunderstorm, which I do recommend in this video, then definitely use Thunderstorm on the enemies that you're trying to AoE down, because that's going to do some good damage actually. It's just you don't want to spread them out, right? So Glyph of Thunderstorm makes it so it doesn't knock them back. Magma Totem, definitely going to want to use that for AoE fights, and then use Fire Nova, which does like 1,000 fire damage around your Fire Totem. And also you're going to want to use Chain Lightning on cooldown, because that's going to jump to 3 total targets, and that's going to help with that AoE pull. But other than that, it's not a crazy, rotation. It's very simple. When you get Elemental Focus, make sure to use the, high damaging spells, for that clear casting state. And then, Lightning Overload happens on its own. But other than that, the rotation is pretty simple. So that's pretty much it. All right, so when it comes to consumables for the Elemental Shaman, the number one flask that you want to go after is the Flask of the Frostworm. This is going to increase spell power by 125 for an hour. Pretty straightforward. If you can't afford the Flask of the Frostworm, you could just get the Spell Power Elixir, which will give you 58 spell power for 1 hour. And you can also get the Elixir of Mighty Thoughts, which increases your intellect by 45 for 1 hour. When it comes to food, number one option is Fish Feast. That's going to give you 80 attack power, 46 spell power, and 40 stamina. You could also bring your own Tender Shovel Tusk Steak. This is going to give you 46 spell power and 40 stamina. Or alternatively, you could bring a Firecracker Salmon, which gives you 46 spell power and 40 stamina for 1 hour. Those are your best options. If you can't get those for whatever reason, you could also enjoy the Great Feast, which will give you 60 attack power, 35 spell power, and 30 stamina for 1 hour. You could get the Dalaran Clam Chowder, which gives you 60 attack power, 35 spell power, and 30 stamina for 1 hour. There's also the Shovel Tusk Steak, which grants 35 spell power and 30 stamina. The Smoked Salmon, which gives you 35 spell power and 40 stamina. And finally, the Snapper Extreme, which gives you 40 hit rating and 40 stamina. Or even the Warg Tartare. What is Tartare? Tartare? Is it Tartare? That gives you 40 hit rating and 40 stamina. So lots of options actually for alternatives for food if you can't get the Fish Feast. Now, when it comes to potions, you should definitely try to get the Potion of Speed. This increases your haste rating by 500 for 15 seconds. That's going to be definitely the best potion for you. But alternatively, the Potion of Wild Magic is quite good, increasing critical strike rating by 200 and spell power by 200 for 15 seconds. So that's also a good potion. When it comes to other consumables you could bring Dark Runes or Demonic Runes if you are struggling for mana. All right, moving on to Restoration. With the big new spell at the bottom of the Resto tree is Riptide, which is an instant cast heal for 700 and another 700 over 15 seconds. And then the next chain heal on that target within 15 seconds will consume that healing over time effect and increase the amount of heal from the chain heal by 25%. So very clearly the rotation is going to be something like Riptide into chain heal. The other talent, which is cool, is Improved Water Shield. 100% chance to instantly gain mana as if a charge was consumed when you gain a crit from Healing Wave or Riptide, 60% from Lesser Healing Wave, and 30% from Chain Heal. So if you get some crits on your spells, you're going to be getting mana back. Very similar to the Paladin, the Holy Paladin talent, right? Very, very similar to, I think it's called Illumination. Maybe not, I don't know. Very similar to the Static Shock talent, making your shield actually useful, right? If you're not getting hit. So Improved Water Shield's really cool. Tidal Force is a new activated spell which increases your crit chance of some of your heals by 60%, and each critical heal reduces that chance by 20%, which pretty much means increased crit chance for 3 crits on a 3-minute cooldown. Now, Cleansing Spirit is absolutely amazing because it finally gives shamans the ability to remove curses. It's an all-in-one cleanse spell. You can remove 1 poison, 1 disease, and 1 curse all at once, everything but magic effects, so makes shaman all that much more powerful in terms of utility. Love it. Blessing of the Eternals is a new talent which gives 4% crit to all spells, but the big thing is the increased chance to apply Earth Living Heal over time by 80% when your target is at or under 35% health. So Shaman, really good panic healer there. Improved Earth Shield is pretty cool, straightforward, just gives 2 more charges and increases healing done by Earth Shield by 10%. I'll take it. Tidal Waves is a bit confusing, but when you cast Chain Heal or Riptide, you have a 100% chance to lower the cast time of your Healing Wave spell by 30% and increase the critical effect chance of your Lesser Healing Wave by 25% until you cast it twice, and Healing Wave gains an additional 20% of your bonus healing effects, and your Lesser Healing Wave gains an additional 10% of your bonus healing effects. So all in all, it just basically buffs a whole bunch of your spells, and whether that's increased critical strike chance or reducing your cast times. Really, really cool. Now, Ancestral Awakening is one of my personal favorite talents because it really helps with raid healing. So when you critically heal with your Healing Wave, Lesser Healing Wave, or Riptide, you actually summon an Ancestral Spirit to aid you, instantly healing the lowest percentage health friendly party or raid member within 40 yards for 30% of the amount healed. Now, that's just super powerful, going to help a ton with raid healing. Alright guys, here's your max level Restoration Shaman endgame standard build. So you can see here we have enhancing totems. I know many Shaman builds have this, so depending on your raid setup, you could take these 3 points and put them into Thundering Strikes, because this does increase your chance to get a critical strike with all spells, and that means healing spells as well. Got 5 points in Ancestral Knowledge for 10% more intellect. Very nice considering you're stacking intellect as a Resto Shaman. Improved Shield not only increases the amount of healing done by your Earth Shield orbs, but also increases the amount of mana gained from your Water Shield orbs by 15%. And don't forget, you have Improved Water Shield, which is basically giving you mana back, consuming Water Shield orbs when you get a critical effect from some of your heals. So very, very great combination, these two talents. There's so many good talents here. We kind of went through the new ones in the previous section, so I won't go through them here. When it comes to glyphs, you're going to want the Glyph of Chain Heal. Your Chain Heal will heal one additional target. OMG, that is awesome. You're like constantly spamming Chain Heals as a Resto Shaman, so this is an incredible talent. I also love the Glyph of Earth Living Weapon. This increases the chance for your Earth Living Weapon to trigger by 5%. Very, very nice. Getting more heals over time on all your heals. And then Glyph of Healing Stream Totem. Your Healing Stream Totem heals for an additional 20%. Massive heals all around for the raid. Now, when it comes to minor glyphs, Water Shield's fantastic. Getting an additional charge on your Water Shield. Renew Life is just kind of convenience, right? You don't need to carry around an Ankh. Pretty much everyone gets this. And then honestly, there's really no other glyph that changes much, so I just like to get Glyph of Astral Recall, so you can reduce the basically the cooldown of your Hearthstone by 7.5 minutes. So I mean, you could put whatever you want here. It makes no difference, but I chose this one. But this is the end game build. This is standard. This will serve you very well when you're max level on your Resto Shaman. All right, so the rotation for the Restoration Shaman and Wrath of the Lich King is a little bit complex, but not so much. I'll break it down for you. So number one, your weapon enhancement will be the Earth Living Weapon. This is going to enhance the amount that you heal with all your healing spells and has a 20% chance to proc, giving a heal over time on the target. It's amazing. You're also going to want to maintain your Water Shield. This is going to give you MP5. It's also, you're going to improved Water Shield. It's just fantastic. Try to keep it up at all times. You're also going to want to typically use Stone Skin Totem, Healing Stream Totem, Wrath of Air Totem, and Flame Tongue Totem. This is pretty standard, but it will, could definitely change depending on your raid composition and the requirements of your group or raid. You're also going to want to maintain your Earth Shield at all times. This is going to increase your healing done because it's going to proc whenever the target takes damage, so keep that up as much as possible. Tidal Force is a activated ability. You'll want to use this pretty much as often as you can. Keep it on cooldown. Use your Mana Tide Totem when everyone in your group will benefit the most from it. It does only benefit your group, and it's on a 5-minute cooldown. Restores 6% of total mana every 3 seconds to group members. Always use highest rank healing wave whenever you are using Nature's Swiftness to maximize the effectiveness of it. Use it in a pressure situation when you think your target might die or they're low health. Use it to save someone. Use Riptide on cooldown and follow your Riptide with a Chain Heal. Now, Chain Heal will have a 25% increased effect. It'll consume your Riptide, so keep that in mind, and it'll get a stronger Chain Heal when used on a target that was just had Riptide used on them. So combo those two together. Tidal Waves is a talent, if you remember, that will lower the cast time of your Healing Wave spell by 30%. So when you have 2 charges of Tidal Waves, go ahead and use Healing Wave, and that's going to be cast much faster, and it's going to be a big, juicy heal. Now, in order to generate Tidal Wave charges, you'll need to use Chain Heal. There's actually a 100% chance to get a Tidal Wave charge when you use Chain Heal or Riptide. So spam your Chain Heals. Once you get 2 charges, use a Healing Wave for a 30% reduced cast time. So very awesome combo there. Also use Lesser Healing Wave if you need to heal someone very quickly. It's 1.5 second cast, so it's kind of like a panic heal. It's much faster than Healing Wave, which is 2.5 seconds. So yeah, that's pretty much the rotation. Just keep in mind that you're going to be generating Tidal Wave charges when you use Chain Heal or Riptide. When you have 2 charges, use a Healing Wave to get a reduced cast time on it. Use Tidal Force on cooldown. You'll be good to go. All right, when it comes to consumables for your Restoration Shaman, the number 1 flask you can get is the Flask of the Frostworm. This will give you 125 spell power for an hour. Alternatively, the Spell Power Elixir grants 58 spell power, or the Elixir of Mighty Thoughts gives 45 intellect. When it comes to food, Fish Feast is number 1. It's going to give you 46 spell power and 40 stamina. You could also get the Tender Shovel Tusk Steak, which will give you 46 spell power, exactly the same, and 40 stamina. And then Firecracker Salmon does the exact same thing as well. Alternatively, you could get the Great Feast, which will give you 35 spell power. The Dalaran Clam Chowder does the same thing, along with the Shovel Tusk Steak and the Smoked Salmon. So you have a lot of options. The best options, though, would be Fish Feast, Tender Shovel Tusk Steak, or the Firecracker Salmon. Now, when it comes to potions, your number 1 best bet is going to be that Runic Mana Potion, just to maintain your mana pool, because you're going to be spamming lots of heals. You could get a Potion of Speed later on when mana is not an issue. Could also carry around Dark Runes, Demonic Runes, whatever you need, but that will serve you well in terms of consumables. All right, let's talk about what's new in terms of baseline spells for Shaman. There are so many new exciting spells for each of the talent trees, and there are also new baseline class spells that all Shamans will get access to in Wrath of the Lich King. For example, Earth Living Weapon, which imbues your weapon with Earth and Life, increasing healing done by 150, and each heal has a 20% chance to proc Earth Living, which heals an additional 600 over 12 seconds. Boom! I love that Shamans finally have a weapon enchant for restoration. It's so cool. There's also Hex, which transforms the enemy into a frog. While Hex, the target cannot cast spells or attack. Damage can interrupt the effect, but it lasts for 30 seconds. And of course, only 1 target can be hexed at a time, just like sheep, and also it also only works on humanoids and beasts. It is a curse too. Lava Burst is a new spell which hurls molten lava at the target, dealing 1,000 to 1,500 fire damage. And if Flame Shock is on the target, the Lava Burst will always crit. Now, this is a very famous Shaman spell, dealing massive damage. It can one-shot other players, and it also gives Elemental Shamans a ton of burst in Wrath. All right, Enhanced Shaman pre-raid best in slot list. Let's go. First up, Helmet, Mask of the Watcher from Heroic Oculus, dropping off Lay Guardian Aragos, 25% chance. The best in slot Helm Enhancement or Helm Enchant is actually Arcanum of Torment, which requires Revered with the Knights of the Ebon Blade, granting 50 attack power and 20 critical strike rating. Your meta gem is the Relentless Earth Siege Diamond, and you're going to want to put +6 to all stats in the other slot, Enchanted Tier. When it comes to your neck piece, 25 emblems of heroism will buy you the pendant of the outcast hero. If you don't have the emblems, you could also get the necklace of Taldaram. That is from Ankahet, the Old Kingdom Heroic, dropping off Prince Taldaram. Next, for your shoulder, you have the Massive Spallers of the Joram Gar. This drops off Gortok Palehoof in Heroic Utgard Pinnacle. The best in slot shoulder enchant, like it is for everyone, will be acquired from the Sons of Hodir Exalted Reputation. This one is going to grant 40 attack power and 15 critical strike rating to your shoulder. Now, when it comes to your back, Death Chill Cloak is going to be your best in slot cloak. It's a tailoring BOE epic, probably going to cost a ridiculous amount, so you might want to actually go for Embrace of Sorrow. Drops off Maiden of Grief, 33%, very good chance from regular Halls of Stone. So that's probably your best option instead of Death Chill Cloak. I bet you this will be so expensive. Heroes Earthshatter Chestguard, your tier piece will be your best in slot. You could also get Exalted with the Argent Crusade and get the Polished Regimental Hubert, or the Crystal Infused Tunic drops off Karastraza in Heroic Nexus. So you've got a couple options. Your best enchant is Chest Powerful Stats, and then get some Rigid Autumn Glows if you're getting the tier set. When it comes to your wrist, that same Karastraza in the Heroic Nexus is actually going to drop your Interwoven Scale Bracers and enchant that with the Enchant Bracer Greater Assault, and you are going to be set. Tier is the best for gloves. Get the Enchant Crusher. This is going to give you 44 attack power. That's a very cool one. Sartharian drops the glove tier set. And you could also alternatively go through Heroic Utgard Pinnacle and kill King Ymiron for the gilt-edged leather gauntlets instead if you can't get your hand on your tier set yet. Gundrak also actually drops Grips of the Beast God as well, 25% chance Heroic Gundrak. So a couple different options there. Again, the link to this is going to be in the description below. Jirach's Caracolis skin belt for your waist, 40 emblems of heroism. Alternatively, King Ymiron once again, Sovereign's belt is very nice. It's an epic. Utgard Heroic Pinnacle, also get a chance at that blue Proto Drake, right? For your legs, Zal Narub Hadronox drops the hollowed manable leg plates, which is pretty cool. You're going to want to put the Ice Scale leg armor. That's the best in slot leg enchantment. 75 attack power, 22 critical strike rating. When it comes to gems, 16 attack power and 8 hit rating comes from the Pristine Monarch Topaz. So that is going to be your thing for your Enhanced Shaman. Boots of the Never-Ending Path for your feet. You can actually buy these from the Argent Crusade once you're exalted. And then you're going to want the Ice Walker enchant. Alternatively, 15 Wintergrasp Marks of Honor buys the Titan Forge Sabatons of Triumph. These look quite good. It's going to have some resilience on there for you. This is a PvP item, but very beastly boots as well. Ring of Scarlet Shadows as a BOE jewel crafting finger, which is pre-raid best in slot. Also, if you happen to be a jewel crafter, make some money and sell these. Go find them. It's a BOP pattern, but it's a BOE item that you can craft. Crystallis, alternatively in Heroic Halls of Stone, drops the Prospector's Prize. You could definitely go for that as well. Band of Kirin Tor is pretty much everyone's pre-raid best in slot. Costs 8,500 gold though, so if you can't get that, Hemorrhaging Cycle drops off Gal Dara in Heroic Gundrak. That looks super good as well. The Sphere of Red Dragon's Blood is a potential Trinket 1. This drops off of Karastraza in the Nexus Heroic. So if you want to grab that trinket, that's going to serve you very well. Alternatively, you could also go to the Violet Hold, get a chance at Cyanagosa. 25% chance there for Mark of the War Prisoner. So this one's actually very nice for spell power. Meteorite Whetstone is trinket number 2 from King Ymiron from Heroic Utgard Pinnacle. You could definitely go for that if you, there's a lot of things you can actually get from Heroic Utgard Pinnacle, so that could be a great option for you. When it comes to your weapon, Titan Steel Guardian, very good. You could also go with Flameheart Spell Scalpel. You can purchase this from Kirin Tor Revered, War Mace of Unrequited Love, Karastraza, Heroic Nexus. Totem of the Elemental Plane is pretty much your best relic here because, as you know, Maelstrom Weapon is going to make your lightning bolts instant cast. So this is definitely your best totem because once you cast your lightning bolt, you're going to get 200 haste rating. So imagine you're enhanced, you're going crazy, and then you get that Maelstrom Weapon, instant cast lightning bolt, and then you got 200 haste rating. So very, very good relic for sure. And this is your Enhanced Shaman pre-raid best in slot list. All right, let's go through the pre-raid best in slot for the Elemental Shaman. A link in the description below if you just want the list. So for your helm, the battle map Hide Helm drops off of Prince Keliseth on Heroic Utgard Keep, 25% chance, very nice. Your meta gem is Chaotic Sky Flare Diamond. And your orange socket here, the red or yellow socket, it's going to be Veiled Monarch Topaz, 9 spell power, 8 hit rating, very good. Now when it comes to your helm enchant, you're going to want to use the Arcanum of Burning Mysteries. You got to get Revered with the Kirin Tor in order to get this. Permanently adds 30 spell power and 20 critical strike rating to your head item. Now for your neck, you're going to want the Necklace of Taldaram. This drops off of Prince Taldaram, of course, in Ankhet, the Old Kingdom Heroic. Now for your shoulder, you get the Dark Runic Mantle. This is a BOE drop, so you could just buy it. Otherwise, it has a 2% drop from Heroic Halls of Stone. Now, there are some alternate options. Cyanagosa in Heroic Violet Hold has the next best option, and this is 25% drop chance, so I would recommend probably going for the Spalders of the Violet Hold. Now when it comes to the enchant, you're going to want Greater Inscription of the Storm. Now everyone gets their best in slot shoulder enchants from the Sons of Hodir Exalted. I think if you're a scribe or if you're inscription, you have your own, so you don't have to get Sons of Hodir Exalted, but this one is the best in slot. For everyone else, permanently adds 24 spell power and 15 critical strike rating. Your red gem is plus 19 spell power. Get that runed Scarlet Ruby. All right, when it comes to your cloak, Death Chill Cloak, it's BOE epic. You can probably buy it. It's going to be crazy expensive, so if you're Taylor, make some money off of this. Your best in slot enchant is Greater Speed, 23 haste rating. That's your number one option. Number two, you can do Heroic Oculus. Lay Guardian Aragos has a 25% chance to drop the Ancient Dragon Spirit Cape, which will do you very well. All right, for your chest, we have the Heroes Earth Shatter Hauberk. This is your tier item. This is your set. This drops off Glyphs, Archivon the Stonewatcher, or you can buy it for 80 Emblems of Heroism. You're going to want to put Spell Power, Rune Scarlet Ruby, and Glowing Twilight Opal into it. Alternatively, Egg Sack Robes drops off Hadronox in Ajal Narub Heroic. 25% chance. You're going to probably want to go for the Egg Sack Robes. Could also get Drakewing Raiments from Heroic Oculus from Dracos, the Interrogator. When it comes to your bracers, Limb Regeneration Bracers, 25% chance to drop from the Prophet Tharon Ja in Draktheron Keep Heroic. Pretty straightforward. Enchant is Superior Spell Power, which gives 30 spell power. For your gloves, Heroes Earthshatter Gloves. This is, of course, your tier set. Drops off Sartharion, Archivon the Stonewatcher, or 40 Emblems of Heroism. You could also get Ebonweave Gloves. This is a BOE epic from Tailoring. Or from General Bajarngrim from Halls of Lightning Heroic, you can get the traditionally dyed handguards. So you got a couple different options there. When it comes to your belt, plush sash of Guzba, 40 Emblems of Heroism should be possible. 16 hit rating in the socket. Alternatively, you could do Heroic Utgard Pinnacle and take down King Ymiron, 25% chance to get Girdle of Bane. Probably going to be a little bit easier to get. All right, when it comes to leggings, get those Leggings of the Winged Serpent, 25% drop chance off Prophet Tharon John Draktheron Keep Heroic. If you're starting to see some trends here, that's going to be a good one for you. Brilliant Spell Thread, going to be super expensive, probably hundreds of gold, but this is the best in slot leg enhancement for the Elemental Shaman. It gives you 50 spell power and 20 spirit. Very nice. Alternatively, if you can't get the Leggings of the Winged Serpent, do Halls of Lightning. Try getting the Woven Braquet leggings off of Loken, Leggings of Natural Power, of Nature's Power, off of Mal'Ganis and Culling of Stratholme. You got a couple different options here for your best in slot pre-raid BiS. Sandals of Crimson Fury drops off of actually you can purchase these once you're exalted from the Wormrest Accord. You're going to want Ice Walker. This is a new enchant, increases critical strike and hit rating by 12. Got to get that hit cap. When it comes to your rings, Band of Guile, this drops off of Mal'Ganis Heroic, 20% chance, not bad. Looks like Crystallis and Halls of Stone Heroic can actually also give you the Prospector's Prize, which would be another great ring. Signet of the Kirin Tor, if you're made out of money, this costs 8,500 gold. Definitely is a strong ring, though, early on, and will teleport you to Dalaran on a 30-minute cooldown, which is an added bonus. When it comes to trinkets, Mark of the War Prisoner from the Violet Hold Heroic, dropping off Cyanagosa. This thing's pretty nice. It has a use effect to grant 346 spell power. Very, very nice. And increases hit rating by 73. Wow, that is good. I can see why that's good. Definitely try to get Mark of the War Prisoner. Sundial of the Exiled is your other trinket. 40 Emblems of Heroism. Wow, very good equip effects. Having a proc chance for 590 spell power and getting a baseline increase of critical strike rating by 84. Very nice. Now, when it comes to your weapon, looks like Titan Steel Guardian is your pre-raid best in slot. This is a BOE epic, probably going to be extremely expensive. So some alternative options, you could buy the Flame Heart Spell Scalpel from Kirin Tor Kirin Tor Revered. This is probably what I'm going to go after. Probably going to be way cheaper than trying to get the Titan Steel Guardian. You could also try to get the War Mace of Unrequited Love, 25% chance off of Heroic Nexus. This looks very nice. So you have a couple options there for your weapon, but the enchant's going to be Mighty Weapon, or Enchant Weapon Mighty Spell Power, which can be 63 spell power. For your offhand, you're going to want Ward of the Violet Citadel, 25 Emblems of Heroism. That shouldn't be too hard. If you can't get that, it looks like Heroic Nexus could be a good place to run for Telestra's Journal. You could also get Temple Crystal Fragment from Novos the Summoner and Heroic Dractheron Keep. And then finally your Relic, because you are an Elemental Shaman here, you're going to want Venture Co. Lightning Rod. This is going to increase damage dealt by your Lava Burst by 121. And Lava Burst is crazy. It does crazy damage. 30 Venture Coins. That's the PvP area in Grizzly Hills. Could also get Totem of the Elemental Plane. Wow, which that's kind of good actually. 200 haste chance on Lightning Bolt Spellcast to increase your haste rating by 200. So that's pretty good. So those are your options for pre-raid best in slot. Electroflux Sight Enhancers, definitely going to be your BiS helmet if you have engineering. Extra bonus if you are engineering for your elemental shaman. So there you go. Pre-raid best in slot list. I will link it in the description below. All right, Restoration Shaman pre-raid best in slot. Now, if you look at some of the other pre-raid best in slot lists that I just did with the other shaman specializations, you'll notice a lot of overlap. Specifically the helm, it's exactly the same. It's just you're gonna have a different enchant if you're enhancement versus resto or elemental. Your meta gem will be different too. If you're resto, you're gonna have the insightful Earth Siege Diamond. You're gonna still go with the runed Scarlet Ruby as if you were elemental. The Arcanum of Burning Mysteries is the same as well. So Heroic could keep Prince Keliseth is going to drop your best in slot helm. The Lattice Choker of Light is definitely different. This one you're going to get from 25 Emblems of Heroism. You could also get the PvP neck for 38k honor. Very, very strong. The Titanium Spell Shock Necklace is also a BOE epic. Very expensive, I'm sure. If you're jewel crafting, you can make it yourself or make a bunch of money with it if you want. Amana Tar from Ankhet Old Kingdom also drops the Amulet of the Spellflinger. So you have a couple different options here. When it comes to your shoulder, Dark Runic Mantle from the Halls of Stone is a BOE blue. Trash drop, 2% chance to drop. So you're probably going to be more likely to buy it for a ton of gold. If you don't want to do that, you could also get Spalders of the Violet Hold. These drop off Heroic Cyanagosa, and it's 25% drop chance. So those are actually a great alternative. Now, when it comes to your shoulder enchant, once again, all of the best in slot shoulder enchants are going to come from the Sons of Hodir, and you're going to have to be exalted. And in this case, you're going to want Greater Inscription of the Storm. That is your best in slot shoulder enchant. Now, when it comes to your shoulder, Death Chill Cloak, this will probably go for so many thousands of gold that I almost don't even recommend it at this point. You're probably way better off going to the Oculus and getting the Ancient Dragon Spirit Cape off of Lay Guardian Aragos, which is a 25% drop chance. It's just really good. The Enchant Cloak Greater Speed is the best in slot back enchant, granting 23 haste rating. Tier set's best in slot for your chest, but you could also get the Spellweave Robe, which is a BOE epic crafted by a tailor. Going to be super expensive though, so you're probably your best bet's the Drakewing Raiments from Dracos the Interrogator in Heroic Oculus. When it comes to your wrist, you could definitely get the Limb Regeneration Bracers from the Prophet Theron Ja and Heroic Dractheron Keep. You really shouldn't have any trouble with that, but you could also just spam Oculus for Cuffs of the Winged Leviathan, Cuffs of Winged Levitation, sorry, from Lay Guardian Aragos. So Oculus could be a source of a lot of your good pieces. For your hands, of course, Tartharian will drop your tier set, but also Spellweave Gloves is a BOE epic from Tailoring, or Gloves of the Glistening Runes from Karastraza and Heroic Nexus. So a couple options there. When it comes to your belt, you could definitely get the beadwork belt of Shamanic Vision. This is going to be 40 emblems of heroism, so it should be attainable. Alternatively, the Sash of Blood removal from Galdara and Heroic Gundrak, that shouldn't be too hard to get as well. Leggings of the Winged Serpent from the Prophet Theron Jandrak Theron Keep also drops your best in slot legs. The best in slot enchantment is the Sapphire Spell Thread, which increases spell power by 50 and stamina by 30. Probably going to be super expensive. When it comes to your feet, when you're exalted with the Wyrm Rest Accord, you can just purchase the sandals of the Crimson Fury, and that will be your best in slot. You could alternatively buy the BOE Epic Revenant's Treads. If you are a leather worker, you could craft them yourself. If you don't want to do that, you could get Cleric's Linen Shoes as an alternative from Heroic Commander Stoutbeard and the Nexus. If you're made of money, Signet of Kirin Tor will be your best in slot ring. Alternatively, Annelhide's ring and Hilday's ring from Heroic Ingvar the Plunderer will be a great option, or Band of Guile from Mal'Ganis and Heroic Culling of Stratholme. When it comes to trinkets, the Spark of Life is your best in slot trinket. Each time you cast a damaging or healing spell, there's a chance to gain up to 220 mana per 5 for 15 seconds on a 2-minute cooldown. This is pretty great for increasing your mana, but also it's going to keep your endurance up with that haste rating as well. Halls of Stone Heroic Sejanir, the Iron Shaper, 25% drop chance. Jesse's Bell, man, I just can't. This stuff's ridiculous. You can get this BOE Epic. It's a BOE world drop. Each time you cast a spell, a chance to gain 125 MP5. Pretty much very similar to the Spark of Life. Probably going to be very unlikely to get this. Egg of Mortal Essence is much more likely. You can just purchase this for 40 emblems of heroism, and that's going to be very nice to increase your haste rating. When it comes to your second trinket, all the above still stands. You could also try to get Dark Moon Card Illusion. If you're going Inscription, you could potentially try to craft this yourself with Prism's deck. But, or Alchemy, go with the Mercurial Alchemist Stone. So there's a lot of different options. Sejonir, the Iron Shaper, also drops Forge Ember, and that's a 25% chance. So you could just, farm Halls of Stone Heroic, leave there with a Forge Ember and a Spark of Life, and be good to go. When it comes to your weapon, the best in slot is the War Mace of Unrequited Love, dropping off Karastraza in Heroic Nexus. Best enchant for you is Mighty Spell Power. Gives you 63 spell power. For your offhand, Temple Crystal Fragment from Heroic Draktheron Keep from Novos the Summoner. I remember that fight, all the skeletons coming down from the stairs. You could also get the Handbook of Obscure Remedies for 25 emblems of heroism, or the Ironbound Tome if you are Inscription. Totem of the Bay is the best in slot totem. Increases base amount healed by your chain heal by 102. That's really good. Alternatively, 15 emblems of heroism, because Venture Bay, don't know if that's going to be super active. Totem of Forest Growth will reduce the base mana cost of Chain Heal by 78 for 15 emblems of heroism. Not hard at all to get, and that could be pretty good for you as well. And that is your Restoration Shaman pre-raid best in slot list. And of course, one of the most important things when choosing what class to play is how the tier sets look. So this is tier 7, Heroes Earthshatter, and here it progresses through Wrath of the Lich King. And so this is what your character will look like when they're fully geared with the tier set. So just wanted to, put this into the equation if you're still deciding what class to play, how your character will look as they progress and get more gear. If you are curious about how your class will look like in PvP gear, I also have the season gear pulled up here. So you can see here seasons 5, 6, 7, and 8, what that gear looks like as well. I would say the PvE gear looks a little bit cooler in my opinion, but this is all Blood Elves. It might look way better on an Orc or a Tauren or something like that, or a Draenei. So keep that in mind. But just wanted to include these tier sets, how they look, so you can get an idea of how your character is going to look if you decide to play a Shaman. Now, when it comes to PvP performance, Shaman is really crazy in Wrath. Each of the 3 specializations can do very well in PvP. Elemental and Enhancement can burst down players like they are nothing, and now they have so many more PvP-oriented talents. Restoration is also so much stronger too, with a bunch of new buffs that we went through. Arena teams like RLS or Roguelok Shaman is one of the best teams in Wrath, and Shaman can accompany many classes in 2v2 and do very, very well. Overall, Shaman has gotten an insane number of buffs in Wrath of the Lich King, and if you liked Shaman in TBC, you are going to love Shaman in Wrath.